All right, let's talk on the new government in Senegal as we'll join the Executive Director, Peace Building Development Consortium, PBDC. We'll join Kayode Bolaji from Cape Town, South Africa. We're joining him via Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Bolaji.
Thank you.
We appreciate. We have seen what's going on in Senegal. Today, a young man of 44, first in Africa, has become a president. It seems that democracy in Africa is having a new face. What do you think?
Certainly, that's an exciting news. Basically, so excited that we now have a very young president from a country like Senegal with so much expectation. So we are, on behalf of a lot of young people across the continent, we are excited.
So that excitement, what do you think will be, is it going to be a gain for Africa, going by the leadership of the young ones across board? What are we going to expect for a man of 44 ruling a country like Senegal?
Yeah, I think there's so much expectation that comes with that. Yes, it is exciting, but it's almost like another level. You know, we had this in the 60s and in the 70s, where we had young leaders leading Africa and had led Africa to where Africa is now. So this is another opportunity for the young president to show a better way of doing it and putting the future now, you know, preparing Africa for a better future. He has a lot of responsibility, and don't forget, a lot of the people that voted him in were young people. The young people are very impatient, you know, they want to see results. So I'm excited for him, but I'm also concerned that he will have to be very strategic with this new mandate and this new responsibility.
Okay. Mr. Bolaji, you see, the fact that in Africa we are celebrating a young president, first in its kind, but there are a lot of things FIRE will have to face. First of all, building bridges. And from your organization, I know that your organization is concerned about peace-building processes. So let's look at building bridges in Senegal after a long period of waiting.
Yeah, those are the concerns that we have when we see young people in power. Because first you need to understand how complex Senegal is. Africa in general is a complex continent. And Senegal in particular, remember, Senegal is the oldest Francophone country in Africa in terms of democracy. You know, they are democracy first. They were colonized first. You know, and they have a lot of political differences, you know, with the current president, you know, as a very good example. You know, he was a prisoner, you know, just some few days ago, and through Providence is now the president of Senegal. So he will have to consider those complexities and put very wise people as advisor, not people that will be very quick to judge, you know. I'm in Cape Town now. This is just the difference between South Africa and Zimbabwe, because Mandela was able to see the complexities in South Africa and maintain some level of sanity, you know, as the president of the Republic after his time in jail. So those are the things I think Mr. FIRE will have to consider moving forward.
Okay, let me take you back to the first statement you made. Yes, we have seen young people in their 20s, in their 30s, taking up a mantle of leadership in Africa, especially the first generation leaders who took over from the colonial masters. But with what has happened in Senegal now, this period, this season, are you saying that this is a goodbye to tight seat leadership in that country?
honestly, I am excited for Senegal. I've always been, it's a country I visit a lot, and they're they're cool-headed people as a people, and I was hoping that they were not going to follow the trend going across West Africa, in terms of cool. So they succeeded to elect a to support democracy by electing a new leader. Like I said, I'm hoping that he won't be a tight seat president. He won't become, an autocratic leader. Those tendencies are always there when you don't give human rights activists, civil society groups opportunity to shake you, to make sure that you are in line. So first, he has a lot to present his plan to the people of Senegal, because you need the people to support you. At some point, you want to do things on your own because you feel this is what my party wants, and this is what I should do. Of course, corrupt leaders will come around you to give you a very wrong direction. So most importantly for him as a young leader is to know what he wants and to be able to sell the idea to people. If it's not going to work, you can compromise and take it step by step. You cannot do everything. So you can just lay foundation, and when it's time to go, you can go. Make sure you set a good example, and your name will continue, even when you're not there. So for young people, I think it's important that we don't make the mistakes that the older generation made by, sitting down, as presidents for 20 years, 30 years. It's a bad name for Africa. I think there's a lot of expectation, on this young man.
Okay. Now, you see, some political scholars will say they are not surprised with what has happened in Senegal because Senegal is a country that has not been ruled by a military junta. And if they so respect democracy, are they leading the way to a new vista in Africa, especially the sub-region?
Yeah, certainly, especially among the Francophone. I think there are quite a few countries doing very well in Nigeria, one of them. Ghana, we have a lot of countries that are doing well in terms of democracy, and we should support those countries because there are temptations everywhere, for military to take over, but it's not happening. So that's to show these are countries that we must appreciate. When countries are doing very well, we should celebrate them. When they're not doing well, we should tell them. So kudos to Senegal for taking this opportunity to put in a democratically elected president, and we want to give them all the support.
All right, let's look at the future for a young president, 44, who was a prisoner of conscience. 2 weeks after he was released from prison, he became a president. It's like the biblical story of Joseph, from prison to palace. Now, let's look at the future for him. It's rosy now. Looking at the condition that we have globally, global economy is not what anybody will joke with because it's quite tight. And a country like Senegal, what do you think Faye will face economically? Because he has promised a better life for the people of the country.
That's why I said he has a burden, because young people elected him, and young people are very impatient. He has said some things that are quite encouraging. He promised to put Senegal first, to change the currency, to really negotiate the oil and gas. Oil and gas was just discovered in Senegal, so there's a oil boom coming in. So if he's able to renegotiate some of those contracts, it means a lot of people will have jobs in Senegal. He wants to also look at the relationship between Senegal and France. So those are the things that he wants to hear in Senegal. So if he's able to work on those few areas that he has promised to look in and do that diligently, I think he will be a successful leader, not just in Senegal. And perhaps then other nations can learn from him, especially other Francophone countries. We want to see a West Africa that is supporting democracy and is winning together.
All right, Mr. Bolaji, you see, if we go by activities going on in most of these Francophone countries and how some of them have decided to say their colonial masters, France, they don't want to do business with them again. You just talked about oil producing in Senegal. And if we take a look back to what has happened in most African countries that have that are dependent on oil, you would know very well that our natural resources has been more of somewhat like a curse. Do you think FIRE will also say, no, let's stay away from France and do business ourselves?
Yes, I think to some extent it will renegotiate the relationship with France. That is probably one of the things that will keep him in government, because this is a trend that is going across West Africa. Francophone countries want to have a better deal with France. Now, the way that is organized, it's now going to determine the success, of his presidency. But certainly, I think he will renegotiate Senegal's relationship with France.
Okay, let's also take a look at back in Nigeria, which I'm sure you know a lot about. And is there a possibility that some of these African countries will also get it right, just like Senegal is showing a good example today?
Yeah, I believe so. You can only keep people in subjugation for a long time. When the time is right, the voice of the people will be loud. And that is just a trend. I believe we will get it right. Nigeria will get it right. Other nations will get it right, and the trajectory is there. There's something, this is more like an inspiration. When a particular country is doing well, other countries are inspired to do well, So I believe, as we're getting it right in Africa, we just must keep the momentum going. I believe West Africa will get it right.
Okay. FIRE has said it will think Senegal first. Thinking Senegal first, allowing the youth, because that country has been battling with the challenge of unemployment, especially amongst the young ones. So do you see him crossing the Rubicon at this time and breaking the ice? The possibility of him breaking the ice, providing employment, and also ensuring that Senegal comes first in all that they do?
From an outsider's point of view, I think it's easy for Senegal to get it right because, one, they don't have insecurity, they don't have security problem. It's a very peaceful country, so the government will should be what is for him to provide a laboring environment for businesses to thrive, and for him to be strategic in going nations to bring in businessmen, to bring in factories, and opportunities for the country. And like I said earlier, the oil boom is another advantage. If he's able to establish the oil business in Senegal, a lot of young people will have a job, So strategically, they can start sending young folks to study engineering, petroleum engineering, things that will be useful for them to start, to use their own people, in terms of the extractive industry, So if you can look at that part, I think it's easy for him to succeed. Unlike other countries in Africa where you have violent conflicts, that is a bit difficult. But for FIRE and Senegal, it should be easy.
Okay. You see, when you talk about oil boom in Senegal, I begin to remember or recollect, not even remember, it's still happening now, what other African countries that are blessed with these natural resources are faced with. I said Is it going to be a curse or a blessing? Some countries today are seeing it as a challenge because of the huge corruption in governance in Africa. So how would FAI fight this?
So you mentioned it. It's corruption. Something that is a natural resource, it's natural resources in a country must be something that, you come together to agree on the way to work with it. When you start having individuals who are selfish, who want to have it all, at the expense of the poor, that's when some elements will rise up, they see the injustice or the perceived injustice and want to take laws into their hands. If he's able to put people together, this is our commonwealth. How do we exploit it? How do we exploit? How do we use it? How do we use it for our benefits? This is what you do for a natural resources, for something that is common for everyone. But when you're careless about that first step, that's when you have problem. Like I said, I don't see much violence coming out of Senegal if some of these steps are taken by the current president. I think he will have a good time if he's able to carry the people along, carry the parliament along, the civil society, the faith-based organization, make sure they are involved in what you're doing, and I think it would be a good ride for him.
Okay, so what's your advice? Because as it is now, the young president needs support from all the African leaders, especially ECOWAS, because we know that the role that ECOWAS played when the former president Macky Sall decided to postpone the election, and ECOWAS came out strongly. So it needs the support of everybody. It needs the support of the young, the support of the old, and even the support of other leaders of Africa. At this time, what would be your advice to the young and old and other African leaders on this issue of Senegal and the new president?
Well, certainly he needs the support of everyone, but he also needs to know what he wants. In international relations, you don't have friends. You don't have permanent friends, they say. So every country will also be looking for a bite, a bite of the pie, So you need to know what you want, what your people want, and you need to have a bargaining power to exploit relationships that will be coming, with their interests. No nation wants to just help you. They want to take from you also. So that's why it's important for him to know that being in opposition is different from being in power. Now you have the demands of everybody in your country, both the ones that like you and the ones that don't like you. You have to lead, and you have to lead well.
Okay, Mr. K, I had wanted to take you back to the experience in Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah, who took over from a younger president, and vis-a-vis, side-by-side, what FAI will have to face too, if you have to recall back to what happened in Ghana.
Yeah, that was a long time. But it's true, somehow history repeats itself. I'm sure FAI understand the past, and will be careful with relationships. Like I said, he has the best opportunity now as a young leader. I want to believe that his story will not be that of Kwame Nkrumah. I don't know him personally. I would have been able to vouch for him, but from what I've read about him, and he's going to have the support of, remember, Mr. Sanko.
Yeah.
This is somebody that has been prepared for the presidency for a long time, so he knows what he wants. FAI may just be new to this position, but he has the support of Sanko. I hope he can keep that relationship. I hope they can work together, just like Mandela and Mbeki work together here in South Africa. I hope they can listen to some of their elders who have the country, the country's interests at heart. But I believe he will make. I have this because I've been following the politics of Senegal for a long time. First is that they have very good people. The people are good. You know, they don't like violence as such. So that is already 50% advantage, you know. And if you can, like you said, if you can manage the conflict that is ongoing, it's not violent at the moment, so it's still at a good stage through preventive diplomacy, employing the conflict resolution mechanism, you know, of early warning, you know, getting everybody involved. Let that tension go down, you know, help people to move forward. Now you can now start with your plans, you know, the plan to enrich the country, the plan to give people jobs, you know, the plan to renegotiate your relationship with the former colonial powers, not to fight them, but to, you know, make your priorities right, you know, so that there can be mutual respect. And because there's still some advantages that they have in that kind of relationship, you know, and then start working on this newfound, you know, gold, which is your crude oil, you know, so many opportunities. You won't get everything done in the year or 2 or 3, and maybe not even, you know, the first time in office. You can send a foundation, but let it be strategic and let people know that this person is a good leader.
Thank you so much, Kay. We appreciate you for joining the program tonight. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.